Hello everyone, Charles Watts here, the Arsenal correspondent at Goal, joining you on a Sunday evening. I hope you are well. I hope you had a good weekend. Got a little bit of time this evening as my wife's upstairs putting the kids to bed at the moment, so I thought I'd pop on for 20 minutes or so and just fire away. I said earlier on today in my video that I've passed 50,000 subscriptions, which is unbelievable. Thank you so much for all the support. So I thought I should come on and take some questions, do a bit of a Q&A. I know they tend to be pretty popular. Whether there's many of you watching on a Sunday evening, I have no idea. But if you are, then please fire away, get your questions in. Let's have about 20 minutes or so of Arsenal debate. If not, and this is a bit of a dud, then I will pop back on tomorrow around lunchtime, something like that, and try and do another one. But please, if you're here, then let me know that you're watching and fire in some questions. Let's talk about the summer. Let's talk about transfers. Come on, we all love talking about transfers. What do you want to see in the summer? Who should Arsenal sign? If they can, who should leave? What should Mikel Arteta's priorities be? Whatever you got, get some questions in, and I will do my best. And seeing plenty of them already starting to come in as well, which is good to see. Like I said, it's probably going to be about 20 minutes or so on this one. If there's loads of more to do, then I will pop back on tomorrow around lunchtime to have do a little bit of a longer one. Right, let's start reading through. Some of you are getting in touch. Kenny says hello. Siddiqui says they are here. Nobby says congratulations. Thank you very much, Nobby. Sheldon from Trinidad says hello. Hiya, Sheldon. Hi, Oscar, Victor, Mark in Thailand. Salu says Odegaard all day. I presume that's from the question of Odegaard or Nabil Fekir. If you haven't seen it yet, I did a little piece earlier that went out on Goal, did a video on it as well, talked about Arsenal's interest in Nabil Fekir. They are looking at him as a possible alternative to Odegaard. Odegaard is very much going to be the priority this summer, but as all football clubs, they have to have other players on the list, and from what I understand, Nabil Fekir is an option for Arsenal. Would be available around 26 million, 30 million euros, 26 million pounds in the summer from Real Betis. 2 years left on his contract. What's your favourite bit of English breakfast, says Sebastian. Baked beans, Sebastian, brings it all together. Can't have an English breakfast without baked beans. Absolutely, 100%. But then I love everything else as well. Bang into black pudding now as well. Never used to be. Love it. Shazibi says, how are you? I'm very well. I hope you are well, Shazibi. Jack says, what's Xhaka's future? To be honest, I don't know. I'm not sure on Xhaka's future. I think his future at the moment is very much at Arsenal. Whether a big comes in for him in the summer, if it does, then they might consider it. But very much at the moment, I think his future is at Arsenal. Mikel Arteta really likes him. He's settled at Arsenal. And so at the moment, I'd say it's in North London, but obviously that can all change. Food for the Soul says hi from South Africa. Hello. Georgius Lamb says, what position is your priority for the summer? I think Arsenal got to sort their strikers out. Personally, I think with Lacazette and with Eddie only having a year left, with Aubameyang being into his 30s, with Balogun potentially leaving, you're basically looking at Gabriel Martinelli as your only long-term striker then, and even you don't know if he's a striker or a left-sided attacker. So I think they've got to sort one way or the other, they've got to sort the striker department out, and potentially refresh that and bring in at least one new young striker who you can kind of build the team around for the next few years. But then there's plenty of other priorities as well. I've already mentioned them before. I think central midfielder, potentially getting a better partner for Thomas Partey than Granit Xhaka. I think right back replacing Hector Bellerin, I think is probably a key area as well. Getting in left back cover for Kieran Tierney. There's loads to do. And if Arsenal don't sign Odegaard, then you've got to bring in you'd think you've got to bring in another attacking midfielder as well. So lots and lots to do. Paul says we need to find a world-class midfielder to partner Thomas. I don't disagree with you there, Paul. Ron says, congrats, Charles. That's a fab landmark. Thanks, Ron, and thank all of you once again for all your support in helping me get into 50,000 subscribers. Mad that. Going back, remember the first day I ever did a video? It was our Arsenal training ground, the days that we were actually allowed to go to the training ground. It was before one of the European games. Potentially, actually, it was before Frankfurt, Emery's last game. And I did my first video on the training pitch and then went into the press room at London Colney to upload it. Mad, in the space of about a year, how much this has grown. I appreciate all the support that you guys give me for that. Digesh says, hi Charles, I'd really like to know what's happening with Reece Nelson and why Martinelli isn't playing any games. Do you really think buying a striker would be bad? Do you think buying a striker would be bad for Martinelli and Balogun? No, absolutely not. I don't think it would be. And look, we don't know what's happening with Balogun anyway. I don't think it'd be bad for Martinelli. I mean, you've got to have strikers if you're a club like Arsenal. You can't go into a league season potentially with only a couple. In terms of Reece Nelson, what's happening? He had a chance to go out on loan in January. He decided against it. None of the options that Arsenal presented to him were appealing, so he decided to stay. Which, for me personally, I think is a mistake because, now he's not even playing, is he? So you're just kicking around playing for the 23s when you could have found yourself a loan move. I think the writing's on the wall for Reece at Arsenal. In terms of Martinelli, why he's not playing, I just think that. At the moment, he got his injury. He was playing and he got his injury, came back, didn't show the best of form in a couple of games that he came back, and he just lost his place. And in the meantime, other players started doing all right. Even Willian found a bit of form. And I also think Martinelli is a bit of a long-term project for Mikel as well, and he's not, and him and the coaching staff aren't rushing him. But all the fears over Martinelli and whether Mikel fancies him and doesn't fancy him, I don't think you should be worrying about that. From everything that I'm told, he's still very much part of the long-term future at Arsenal. What do you think of Basuma? I think he's a very, very exciting player. I'd be very happy if Arsenal ended up getting him, I have to say. Connor says, hi Charles, I don't think Leicester will get Edouard. When Rodgers was at Celtic, he left him out some massive Europa League games, starting Ollie Burke in his place. So the relationship is not the best. Fair enough, Connor. Interesting that. I don't know. Just from what I'm hearing, suggests that Leicester are the front runners for that one. I didn't realise they didn't have the best relationships. That's quite an interesting point. I really like Edouard. I think he's the kind of striker Arsenal need to be looking at. I know he's not had the best of seasons in Celtic, but no one's had a great season there. It's all gone a bit wrong, hasn't it, up at Celtic this season? But I think he's a good age. I think he's got real talent. When I speak to people who've watched a lot of him, they really like him. And Arsenal have been watching him for a while, so I think he's the sort of player that could potentially come down to England and become a big success down here. Gershan, any rumours on a new striker? Not particularly. Like I said, I know that Arsenal do like Edouard and have watched him a lot, but other than that, I haven't really heard too much yet. I think it's difficult as well because a lot of the things that Arsenal are going to be trying to put in place are reliant on what happens and what position they finish in the league. So I think a lot of things are up in the air with Arsenal at the moment. Mohammed, who do you think is a better for a rotation player for us to keep between Chambers and Holding? I'd keep both of them. Well, I don't know. Actually, I'd probably, I'd keep Holding over Chambers. I actually really like Rob Holding. I know quite a few of you don't, but I think he's a decent centre-back, and he's only going to get better as well as he gets older. But I really like Callum as well. I think Callum's got great technique. He's a good player. I just wish he had a little bit more pace, Callum Chambers. I think if he had a bit more pace, he'd be an excellent player in a fair few positions. He's got great technique. Really strikes the ball lovely as well. Jamie says, is there a possibility of Bellerin leaving? I think he should leave and new starting right back with Cedric as backup. Yes, I think there is a big possibility of Bellerin leaving if a decent club can be found for him as well. And, he was close to leaving. There was a good chance he was going to leave last summer. He didn't. Him and Mikel sat down and spoke about it after the FA Cup final, decided he would stay. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go back and have that conversation again this summer and a different outcome is reached. Shazivi says, do you think what Edu is doing and has done is the same as what Mislintat wanted to do? No, not at all. I think it would have been completely different. Shazivi, if Mislintat had come in, I think when you look at what he's doing at Stuttgart at the moment, I think that's the sort of route he'd have taken down with Arsenal. He certainly wouldn't have gone down the more agent-driven route that Edu has done. Ricky B, lasagna or bolognese? Well, as an Arsenal fan, you've got to love lasagna, haven't you? Jerry says, greetings from Tanzania. Greetings, Jerry. Oh, God, this is such a hard one, Victor. If Arsenal could sign only 3 players this summer, who would you pick? It depends if you're talking realistic or not. If you're not talking realistic, I'd absolutely have Jack Grealish. I think it'd be fantastic. I love Jack Grealish. Even though I love Odegaard as well. So, if we're going realistic, I'd say Edouard, potentially Odegaard, even though that I think is going to be really, really difficult. And Basuma, maybe. if you're talking unrealistic, I really like Hakimi into Milan. I think he could be a very interesting right back, and could that could provide a lot of threat down the right hand side for Arsenal. Morgan, why don't people rate Lewis Dunk? I think he's a baller who'd fix our defence. I think Lewis Dunk is almost past his. I feel like he's kind of at the place where he's going to stay now, almost, Lewis Dunk. I think he needed to go in the last couple of years if he was going to really move on. I think he's a very good defender as well, Morgan. I agree with you. I think he's done really well for Brighton. I'm surprised he hasn't moved anywhere. But Brighton are a well-run club and they don't have to sell. And I think there have been bids for Lewis Dunk, but they've just never really entertained them. Ganesh says, love your updates. You're part of my daily evening walk. That's good to hear, Ganesh. I hope your walk is good this evening. The Kaiser CEO says, if we make 100 million in sales and we make the Champions League, oh God, that'd be nice. What positions would you prioritise and who would you bring in? It's the same sort of question. Like I said, I'd certainly bring in a striker. In terms of who would prioritise, I do like Odegaard. I'm sure that you could, if there was more money, you go out there and get a more ready-made talent there. But I do like Odegaard. I think he's the kind of player that Arsenal need to build to bring in now. That sort of, you look at a Tierney type player, that age, Odegaard as well, who I'd absolutely prioritise in signing. Actually, if we could get Odegaard, just like I said earlier, I love Grealish, but I think that's out the window. You'd have to pay about 100 million to get Grealish. So Odegaard, Edouard, possibly Hakimi, who I think would really improve Arsenal down the right hand side. Subi says, I hope you're well. Do you know when Patino is coming back from injury and if he's going to get a loan next season or if he's part of Arteta's plan? Well, actually, I spoke to someone about Charlie Patino this week, or the end of last week. He's about 3 weeks away from injury now. He's got a hamstring issue, and Arsenal aren't taking any chances of him as we're towards the end of the season now. So he's about 3 weeks away, maybe a month away from playing again, coming towards the end of the season. So like I said, they're not going to rush him back now. As far as I'm aware, they are not really looking at Patino as a loan. They're looking at integrating him very, very quickly to the first team, because they all like him. They like him a lot. They're working really hard at the moment on strength and conditioning with him at London Colney. They brought in someone to work especially with him and one other player. I'm not sure who that other player is. And they're really working on him to get him ready for the first team. He's not one of the players they're looking at the moment. That could all change, obviously, in the summer, but at the moment, from what I understand, he is not really viewed as someone to go out on loan. He's someone to make the step quickly, kind of like a Bukayo Saka, up into the first team. Prash says, what do you think about Tank coming back from Germany as our left back? Not for me. Prash, I think if Arsenal can find a buyer for Kolasinac, then it'd be best for all parties if he moved on at the end of the season once he comes back from Schalke. Who should leave? Says Shaban, all on loans except Saliba. All the players on loan, I presume you mean there. Apart from Saliba, Saliba I think should certainly stay. In terms of who should leave for me, I think you certainly I agree with you on most of the loans there. I think there's time, certainly Kolasinac. I think it's time to move on some of the young English boys, Willock, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Reece Nelson as well. I think you look at maybe El Neni if you can, certainly Bellerin if you can, really sort of continue the shake-up of the squad that we're seeing under Mikel Arteta. Sadiki says, do you think we should try and get Sumara? Sorry if that pronunciation is wrong. I always get that wrong. I got killed earlier. I saw in my video earlier. I think I was pronouncing Sanya as Sagna or something like that, and I got killed by the pronunciation police, so apologies for that. I don't know about Samara. From what I've heard, he's pretty raw. Arsenal do like him and they've watched him, but I'm not sure they think he's ready or polished enough to make the move up to the Premier League. Gua says, keep doing it, Charles, from Welsh Gooner. Is that the Welsh Gooner that I think it is? If it is, I hope you are well. Good to see Chris Gunter getting his 100th cap yesterday. I love Chris Gunter, what a guy. Is that you, Kevin? Let me know if that is you. Gunner Dread says, hey Charles, does our qualifying for Europe next season affect our summer transfer budget? 100%, of course it does, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Imagine you get Champions League, budget's going to be out there. If you get Europa League, it'll be down there. If you don't, it's going to be down there. So it 100% affects the transfer budget, yeah. JD says, how much money do you expect Arsenal to raise from summer player sales? Quite a lot if they sell well. I think you're looking at Guendouzi, you're looking at Torreira. Like I said, some of the young English boys. If that all goes well, you could get yourself 75 million, 100 million pounds if you sell well. And that's before you think about someone like Bellerin as well. You think, you could get 25, 30 million pounds for Bellerin. So yeah, I think it all depends. I've mentioned it before, Edu's got a big job on his hands this summer. Not just about bringing players in, but it's selling players. Arsenal have been terrible at it at times. They've got to get much better at it, and this summer's going to be key in terms of that. Laurie says, this is an interesting one. Should be worried about lack of homegrown squad members. Yes, absolutely, Laurie. Which is actually a point. When I keep saying get rid of some of the English lads, then and especially Bellerin's who's homegrown as well, then there are plenty that you've got to really look at if you do move those players on and fill in those homegrown spots. So yeah, it is something they have to look at. Ivan Toney, who's that? Ronan Williams, Ivan Toney. You see that again? I wouldn't be against that at all. I think he's great. I love Ollie Watkins. I think he's done brilliant since he's gone to Aston Villa, and you can potentially see Toney doing something similar. I wouldn't be against that at all. Eskinder says, are we better with Lacazette or Auba up front? It's a really tough one. I think we know what Lacazette does. We know he brings in players. His link-up's great. He was so good against West Ham. It was one of the best performances I've seen for ages. But he doesn't score as many goals as Auba. I know Auba's having a bit of a bad time of it at the moment. He's not had the best of seasons, but he's still a fantastic striker. I think if you've got to start one, I'd still start Aubameyang, I have to say. Sad says, how true are the Fekir rumours? They're true. They're very, well, as far as I'm aware, and I've been speaking to a couple of people about it who I absolutely trust. They are absolutely true. Arsenal are looking at him. He's not the priority. As far as I'm aware, Odegaard is the priority, but Arsenal obviously have to have backup options, and one of them is Nabil Fekir, who they've been watching for a while. They liked him when he was at Lyon. They've carried on watching him now. He's got 2 years left on his contract. He's just changed agents as well ahead of a potential summer move. Betis need money, so it's an option. I'm not saying Arsenal are going to do it, but it's certainly an option. Oh, Paul Burden, best Arsenal game you've ever missed? I don't know what you mean. Do you mean ones that I should have been at and didn't go to? I tell you, the best one that I should have been at that I didn't go to was in the Invincible season, the Liverpool 4-2 when Henry got his hat-trick. I went clubbing in London the night before at Camden Palace. Didn't get back in till about 10 in the morning. And came back with my girlfriend. And we sort of slept in. I basically woke up about 3 in the afternoon. Dad had already gone, hadn't been able to get hold of me. And went with my mum instead, and obviously Henry scored the hat-trick. Arsenal won 4-2. Yeah, that's one I regret not missing out on, but I did have a very good night the night before. I wasn't at Anfield 89. I'm not sure he saw that. He said that I wasn't. I was watching it from home as an 8-year-old boy. Actually, I wasn't from home. Watching it from home. I was watching it with my mate and his family. I was on holiday with them. Who is the next Saka, according to you? Well, I've already mentioned him on this video, but Charlie Patino. Everyone that I've spoken to, every time I've seen him, he impresses me, and everyone I've spoken to, really, really impressed by him, really excited by him. He's very much looking like the next kind of Jack Wilshere type player. So yeah, I think he's the most exciting young talent coming through, but there's other ones as well. Furai says, did you attend the Reading 5 Arsenal 7 game? I didn't. It was weirdly, I actually was covering Reading. Well, I covered Reading for a few years before I took over and started covering Arsenal. But that was before then. I was working that night, so yeah, I missed the Arsenal 5 Reading game. It's just down the road from me because I live in Maidenhead, so it's only down the road from me. So I wasn't at that one. People are asking about Dybala. No, I haven't heard anything on Dybala. Who's winning the Masters next month? Tough to see beyond DJ. Hopefully not Bryson, because I can't stand Bryson, but I can't see beyond DJ, although DJ had a bit of a nightmare in the match play this weekend. Siddiqui says Balogun needs to stay. I agree with you 100%. Madev says, who is the best centre-back pairing? It's a really interesting one. I wrote a piece about that ahead of the West Ham game, actually. I love Pablo Mari. I think Mari's great. Although he didn't play that well against West Ham. And I think Rob Holding, I think Rob Holding's had a really good season. I know he's made a couple of errors recently, but I like Rob Holding as well. I'd say probably Gabriel and Louise at the moment, but I really like Mari. Lots of people asking about Miguel Aziz. What about him? First team. I'm not sure he'll be going to the first team next season. No, I wouldn't. But he might get some games in the Europa League if Arsenal qualify for that. I think Aziz should head out on loan next season. To be honest, Pramod asking about Dangote taking over. No, there's nothing from me on that, I'm afraid. Obviously, I've heard what he said plenty of times, but I've always maintained that from everything that I hear about Stan Kroenke, he just won't entertain selling. It doesn't matter how much Dangote speaks about it and what he's going to do. If Kroenke's not going to sell, then that's it. The takeover stops there. And whether Dangote backs up his words anyway and actually tries to buy Arsenal, we'll have to wait and see. Jordan, do you think Kroenke will invest heavily in Arsenal? No, I don't. Because he never has, and he never will. Oh, someone asking me about the Turkish national team there. I think they're great. I was talking about them earlier, actually. I think they're going to be one of the real surprise packages over the next couple of years. Fantastic result yesterday against Norway. Got some brilliant young players coming through Turkey. I think they're going to be a really, really good team for the next few years. Someone asking about the picture I got fixed. Yes, it is fixed. Obviously upstairs in a different room, but it is fixed, yeah. People asking about backup for Tierney. I think they absolutely need it. Yeah, it should be one of the priorities. But they were looking at Ryan Bertrand in January. That could well be an option for Arsenal. Bertrand want to leave. Looks like he's going to be available on a free transfer. And that could well be an option for Arsenal in the summer. So maybe keep your eye out for that one. People asking about Buendia. He's a player Arsenal have watched many times. His agent very, very close with Edu. Obviously was the same agent of Emi Martinez. He's a player that Arsenal like. They were never going to go for him in January. Whether they go for him in the summer, we'll have to wait and see. I think the thing with Buendia, he's going to be an awful lot of money as well. Norwich are going to come up. They're going to want to try and stay in the Premier League this season. They're not going to sell Buendia on the cheap. So I'm not sure Arsenal will get him done. And I also think that Odegaard is their priority at the moment. And like I said, there's also the chance with Nabil Fekir as well. What's happening with Guendouzi? Well, he'll just come back in the summer and then he'll sit down with Arteta and Edu and work out what's going on. Personally, I think Arsenal will do all they can to sell him. Are we interested in Basuma? Sorry, I missed out who asked that question. He's apparently someone that Arsenal looked at. I've never had it confirmed myself, though. I think Arsenal would absolutely be looking at him. Though, like a lot of top clubs are, because he's a very exciting young player. He's proven himself in the Premier League, so I think a lot of clubs will be. And people that I know and respect say that Arsenal are interested in him, but I've never had it confirmed myself. Oh, here's a good question. That I'm going to probably end it on this question, to be honest, because my battery is down to 5% and it's going to cut off in a minute, and I don't want it to cut off this just to end abruptly. What's your best North London derby moment? For me, it's when Fabregas scored 15 seconds after he scored. Just before that, JV. That's your question. Brilliant moment that was, JV. I was there for that. Brilliant. He's just still celebrating. Who scored the first goal? Was it? I can't remember who scored our first goal in that game. We were still celebrating, and then Fabregas goes through. I think it was Adebayor. Just a brilliant moment. But my favourite North London derby memory, there's so many of them over the years. Tony Adams' header at Wembley in 1993 to win the FA Cup semi-final. I'd been there when Gazza scored the free kick 2 years earlier. I was there for that, cried on my way down out at the stadium. So seeing Tony Adams score that header and getting revenge 2 years later, that was brilliant. Winning the title at White Hart Lane, I mean, what a moment. Just winning the title anyway is special, but winning the title at White Hart Lane, absolutely fantastic. Tony Adams volley in the 3-1 at Highbury in 97, I think it was, when Bergkamp scored that goal. It's just so many of them. All those victories we had over them, home and away for so many years under Arsene Wenger. Just brilliant. But yeah, I think probably I would say my favourite North London derby moment is winning the title at White Hart Lane. I mean, you can't get better than that, can you? You just can't. Right, everyone, I'm going to head off now. Like I said, we're up to 25 minutes and this battery is about to die. I will pop on, I promise, I'll say it now, I'll pop back on tomorrow lunchtime and do another one of these as well. So please do join me. I'll probably try and get it going around 12 or 1 o'clock tomorrow, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you once again for all your support on this channel. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and I'll speak to you very, very soon. See you later.